Hello, my name is Angelina Zaitseva, and today in my presentation, I will be talking about Final Girl and defying gender norms in horror films. In this presentation, I will explore how the idea of Final Girl in horror movies challenges gender stereotypes and serves as an example of how female characters can defy traditional gender norms, demonstrating women's strength and equality with men. I will do this by analyzing Carol G. Clover's essay Final Girl and examining other peer-reviewed sources related to the topic of gender and feminism to argue against gender stereotypes and highlight the importance of empowering representations of women in the media. What is feminism? Feminism is the belief that all genders should have equal rights and opportunities. Throughout history, women have been seen as inferior to men, and for centuries they have been fighting to gain equality. The women's rights movement is a crucial drive in making a difference for gender equality and fighting against sexism and oppression. The women's rights movement began in 1848 when Elizabeth Cady Smith and Lucretia Mott organized the first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls. This movement fought for fundamental rights such as property ownership and access to education. Despite facing many struggles, the women's rights movement has made lots of progress, leading to significant changes like the passage of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. Although lots of changes have been made, women continue to push for equality in areas such as employment and politics. In my presentation, I will be using Final Girl as a metaphor to present my idea of feminism. Final Girl's character emerged in the mid-1970s when the slasher film The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released. Slasher films typically feature a story about a group of individuals who became victims of a killer. However, in the film, one character survives and sometimes even kills the murderer. This character is often referred to as Final Girl. In her essay, Carol J. Clover talks about Final Girl's important role in slasher films. She examines her untraditional masculine qualities such as strength, courage, and intelligence. Final Girl uses her unique characteristics to defeat her opponent and become the hero of her story. My first claim is that women are stereotyped to resemble certain feminine qualities such as being nurturing, emotional, and submissive. These gender stereotypes limit and restrict women to certain roles and expectations. Often women are expected to focus on domestic duties instead of being career-driven. This prevents them from having certain opportunities related to things such as politics and money that are accessible to men. Evers from the Journal of International Affairs argues that the double standards theory postulates that female candidates begin at a disadvantage with voters because stereotyped male traits such as leadership, authority, and toughness are valued more in politicians than stereotyped female traits such as empathy, compassion, and honesty, which are communal traits. This shows that the important aspects such as politics lack gender equality, and because of this, women are restricted from many opportunities. In the case of Final Girl, we can see that when fighting against the killer, she exhibits usually unfeminine qualities such as intelligence and resourcefulness. If we take Laurie from the film Halloween as an example, we can see that she exhibits resourcefulness and skills of self-defense to help her fight the killer. In the film, she manages to escape the killer several times by using things around her like a pot or a hanger. In her essay, Clover mentions that, thus Laurie, even at her most desperate, cornered in a closet, has the wit to grab a hanger from the rack and bend it into a weapon, showing her ability to overcome difficulties. In the case of Marty from Hell Night, she can fix a car and get it from being stuck all while escaping the killer. Her scenario showcases her intelligence and mechanical abilities, which are typically not associated with feminine qualities. Lastly, Nancy from A Nightmare on Elm Street plans her defense before the killer even comes to her house, demonstrating her intelligence and skills of thinking ahead. All these examples showcase how Final Girl does not conform to gender norms and instead demonstrates unique qualities such as courage, survival skills, and strength. My second claim is that gender inequality and discrimination often portray women as if they are all the same. Feminism and the women's rights movement fights against these ideologies, and many examples have proved these ideologies wrong. Gian Turco from International Trade Forum says women in Nepal and Nicaragua are bravely violating gender roles and performing jobs that have been considered inappropriate for women, driving taxis in Kathmandu, leading trucks in the Himalayas, working as welders, carpenters, and electricians in Kandega. These examples showcase how many women nowadays are going against gender norms and fighting against gender inequality. Final Girl is a great example of someone who differs from stereotypical females. In the slasher films, she is portrayed as very different from her female peers and friends. Clover notes that the practiced viewer distinguishes her from her friends minutes into the film. She is the Girl Scout, the bookworm, the mechanic. One of the differences is that most of the final girls, including Lori and Marty, are not sexually active and don't have romantic relationships. They fear dating and decline male attention. Compared to her friends, Final Girl is very watchful and notices signs of danger that her friends may ignore. Most of the Final Girls have names that are not stereotypically female names, such as Marty, Terry, Lori, Stretch, and Max. Many of these differences may have helped Final Girl become the survivor and the main character of her story. My next claim is that in the media, women are presented as the weaker individuals who are dependent on men. If we take Disney princesses as an example, we can see that although they are the main characters of their stories, they still need a hero to come and save them from their troubles. This ideology is portrayed in many forms of media, including films, music, and social media platforms. In the article, Gender Stereotypes on the Silver Screen, it says, many Ethiopians watch Hollywood films, music videos, and television which have all been criticized for objectifying women. The accepted division of work puts women in the role of homemaker of the household. In the films, women do not only do the house chores but are also the caretakers of the men. This shows how women are misrepresented by the media. In the case of Final Girl, she is presented as the protagonist and hero while the killer is the antagonist and villain. This is interesting because normally in films and in the media, females are not presented in this way. They are normally seen as the victims who seek help from men. The killer is a man, so Final Girl, being a female, defeats a man using her skills and unique qualities. Her distinct and special characteristics help and support her when she is fighting the killer. In her essay, Clover mentions that the Final Girl is boyish in a word, just as the killer is not fully masculine. She is not fully feminine. This helps explain the difference between the hero and the villain, showcasing Final Girl's unique qualities. The last claim is that fortunately, feminism is spreading and advancing, promoting equality between men and women. Over the decades and centuries, women have been fighting for their rights, and only recently have they been gaining equal rights and opportunities as men. Although not everyone and not everywhere this progress has been made, considering many countries still lack equal representation of women. However, overall, the feminist movement has been making lots of progress. According to Neri from Sister Namibia, in general, many women today enjoy these same benefits thanks to the strife of women's rights activists before us. Many women occupy positions of importance in society and contribute significantly to economic and other development. This advancement of feminism is depicted in the slasher film series as each Final Girl is becoming more active rather than passive when defending herself against the killer, demonstrating more masculine qualities. If we compare the first slasher film, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, to the next several slasher films, we can see that Final Girl evolves and her skills and qualities change with her. Sally from The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, although very resilient, doesn't fight the killer but just survives his attacks. At the end of the movie, she is saved by a pickup driver and not by her own doing. If we compare her to Laurie from Halloween, we can see that she has evolved into a more active fighter. She uses her survival skills and resourcefulness to fight against the killer and kill him in the end. Carol J. Clover says, given the drift in just the 4 years between Texas Chainsaw and Halloween, From passive to active defense, it is no surprise that the films following Halloween present final girls who not only fight back, but do so with ferocity and even kill the killer on their own, without help from the outside. This change of character in the final girls, from being a more feminine character to a character who rejects conforming to gender norms, is a good representation of how the women's rights movement has progressed over the years. Although gender stereotypes portray women as being inferior to men, they can highlight the distinctive and valuable qualities that set women apart from men and make them unique. Many of these characteristics, such as empathy, intuition, and emotional intelligence, can be beneficial for women in many aspects of their life. In her article, A Bright Future for Women in U.S. Politics, Evers writes, during her interview with Fashion Features director Avril Mayer, Johansson said she would support Clinton for president because she believes we could only benefit from having someone in office who has been a mother. Women have a different perspective because of that maternal instinct. This shows how a woman's nature can contribute to her success. In Final Girl's example, we can see that although she exhibits many traditionally masculine characteristics, she also portrays many traditionally feminine qualities that aid her in her survival against the killer. First of all, she is very resilient and can withstand the torture and still survive in the end. In the essay it says, for nearly 30 minutes of screen time, a third of the film, we watch her shriek, run, flinch, jump, or fall through windows, sustain injury and mutilation. Also, Final Girl is nurturing. In the case of Laurie from Halloween, she makes sure that the children in the house were safe. Final Girl's quick adaptations to her environment also resemble a feminine quality. She can quickly figure out a solution to her current problems by adapting to her environment. Another feminine quality that she has is that in many of the slasher films, she gets help from a man. In Sally's case, a pickup driver saves her from her killer, and in Laurie's case, a man shoots the killer to death. Although Final Girl is a great representation and example of feminism, and she does not conform to traditional gender roles, she still portrays some important feminine qualities. In conclusion, although the feminist movement has made lots of progress in the past, such as the passage of the 19th Amendment and more representation of women in the workforce, many challenges still exist. Many women experience violence, there is lack of women in leadership, and unequal job opportunities, to name a few. It is very important to recognize these problems and find solutions to these ongoing challenges. Final Girl's analogy helps people see the lack of gender equality in our world today, and she serves as an important metaphor resembling modern feminism, challenging gender stereotypes, and highlighting the importance of representation of women in the media. Here is my works cited, and thank you for watching my presentation about women's rights, feminism, and Final Girl.